All right, anatomy students, you've made it. This is the last video in the series covering the lecture material over the muscular system and muscular tissue. This one's pretty short, so you've made it through the tough ones. This one is a lot easier, so let's not waste more time listening to me talk about it. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started with our last video lesson here on the muscular system. So we're going to talk a little bit about a few kinds of muscle contractions, some basic general muscle contraction terminology, and then we're going to talk about some homeostatic imbalances that we may find in the muscular system. So first we have isotonic versus isometric muscle contractions. And isotonic is any muscle contraction that results in movement. So most of your weightlifting and exercising that we do uses isotonic contractions. The contraction isotonic is a type of muscle contraction in which the muscle shortens while generating force. Eccentric isotonic is a contraction in which muscle tension is less than the resistance. The muscle lengthens. So stretching is considered a type of isotonic muscle contraction, or not even a muscle contraction, but just a muscle movement. Stretching, for those of you who enjoy yoga, that can be some work getting into those positions and stretching your body. So making the muscles shorter, moving the body, bending the body would be a concentric isotonic, and then eccentric is when you work to stretch your body, and but the body moves, and that is the nuts and bolts of an isotonic muscle contraction. An isometric muscle contraction is a forceful contraction, but it results in no movement. Muscle force and resistance are equal, supporting objects in a fixed position and posture. So think about if I were to give you a walnut and say, crack this between your hands, and you would push as hard as you could on the palms of your hands in front of your chest, and you would try to squeeze that walnut in between your hands. You're really not moving, but you're still pushing, and your muscles are contracting with force, but there's not a lot of movement involved there. That would be an example of isometric. If you ever watch bodybuilders when they flex to show their muscle and their muscularity on stage, they usually hold a body part and push and pull against a body part to get those muscles to contract. When they flex their biceps, a lot of times they'll hold their hand in their other hand, and they will push their hands together to isolate one of their biceps. When they show their triceps, they hold their hand and push into their other hand to show their biceps. And when they go to show their lat muscle on their back, they'll hook their thumb behind their hip, and they'll push their thumb into their hip to get that lat muscle to pop out. And those are examples of isometric muscle contractions. All right, so we have different kinds. Concentric contraction while picking up a book. So that muscle's getting shorter. That would be an example of a isotonic. Eccentric contraction while lowering the book. So you're using gravity to help you stretch the muscle. That would be, and also another example would be doing a negative. So by allowing that book to fall slowly, or if you do a negative, say if you're doing a bench press exercise and you push the weight up, and when you do a negative is you allow the bar to come back to your chest as slowly as you can. That's still, even though you're fighting gravity in the opposite direction. Instead of pushing the weight away, you're now allowing the weight to slowly come to your body. And that requires a lot of muscle to do that. So that is an example of an eccentric isotonic. And just holding that book right there in one spot is isometric. And if you have ever done that, you'll know that eventually your muscles will fatigue and that book will start to drop. Let's talk about some imbalances and the homeostasis of your muscles. Exercise-induced muscle damage. After intense exercise, electron micrographs reveal considerable muscle damage, including torn sarcolemmas and disrupted Z discs. So this, if you push yourselves beyond a normal exercise limit, you can damage and injure your muscle tissue. Blood levels of proteins normally confined only to muscle, including myoglobin and the enzyme creatine kinase, increase as they are released from the damaged muscle. So basically that means there's a small amount of internal bleeding. And that can really mess up the homeostatic balance of that tissue. A muscle spasm. We've all had these, is a sudden involuntary contraction of a single muscle within a large group of muscles, usually painless. Many times after a workout, when your muscles are fatigued, you'll look down and you'll just see that one muscle in your leg just twitch uncontrollably. And you'll look at that muscle twitching, and it just sits there and twitches for a few minutes and usually is not painful. A cramp, on the other hand, is an involuntary, often painful muscle contraction caused by inadequate blood flow to muscles, usually because there's blood being pumped to lots of other muscles to try to supply oxygen to them, and this particular muscle just isn't getting enough. Usually, you'll see this with dehydration. So a lot of times on the football field, when we get later on into a game and someone has been sweating a lot, and as they start to become dehydrated, their muscles will cramp. Overuse, injury, and abnormal blood electrolyte levels. So going up with sweating a lot, not only are we losing water, but you're losing electrolytes, the sodium and the calcium and the potassium that we learned a few video lessons ago are needed for muscle contraction. And if you've ever tasted sweat, it's salty. There's a lot of sodium in it. And when you lose that sodium, then you have an electrolyte imbalance in your muscle, and that can also trigger muscle cramps. Disease states and disorders, fibrosis, or sometimes called myofibrosis. This is when the muscle tissue becomes fibrous and it loses its elasticity and extensibility. The replacement of muscle fibers by excessive amounts of connective tissue, usually from damage. We go back to exercise-induced damage that can cause your muscles to become fibrous due to the scar tissue. Myosclerosis, hardening of the muscle caused by calcification. Both myosclerosis and muscle fibrosis occur as a result of trauma and various metabolic disorders, meaning there's something wrong, a disease with the metabolism is causing the muscles to become fibrous. Aging, this is something I know about. In part due to decreased levels of physical activity with aging humans, we undergo a slow progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass that is replaced largely by fibrous connective tissue and adipose tissue, aka fat. So this is one of the reasons why it's recommended to maintain a level of exercise as you get older so that your muscles remain muscles and they're not replaced by connective tissue and fat. Muscle strength at 85, if I make it to 85, is about half that at age 25, which I'm pretty good because when I was 25, that's when I was in my big weightlifting kick, and that was the strongest I was in my life. I was pretty strong. So if I'm half that, I'll still be in good shape. That's back when I was benching 315. So if I still can maintain half of that at 85, man, I'll be a butt kicking old man. Compared to the other two fibers, the relative number of slow oxidative fibers appears to increase. So as you get older, you start to have more slow twitch red than you did when you were younger and had a higher concentration of fast twitch red or fast twitch white. This is why, one reason, you don't see professional athletes still competing at age 50. It's just part of getting old. Your body just can't do it anymore. Also, there is a loss in speed of contraction. This is probably why. And I can tell you in my firsthand experience, being an athlete in high school, all in my youth, I started competitive sports at the age of 5 and went all the way up through my short collegiate place kicking career. I was an active competitive athlete. And when I started teaching, and I was always recruited to be in the fundraiser games where the faculty played, the Bengals or the Channel 12 news crew people, or faculty played students. I can tell you that there are times where there would be a person or a ball or something coming my way. And as my brain was going through those calculations to time up my body movements to intercept that ball and make that catch, my brain still remembers how to do it and remembers the timing. But when it told my muscles to go through that process, the muscles then told the brain, we don't do that anymore. And that ball got by me, or that person evaded me, or whatever. And I thought, man, when I was 18, I'd have been able to catch that. But I'm not 18 anymore. And so, the stereotypical, oh, he's lost a step. Well, yeah, it happens. You wait, you'll see what I mean when you get there. Enjoy your youth. And that is all for this unit. All right, that was it. Kind of ended, I guess, on a little depressing note about getting old. So, like I said, enjoy your youthfulness. And if you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email. And hey, click like and subscribe. We'll talk at you later. Thanks for watching.